Hi, I'm Danielle Barrett, the McCreary County Cooperative Extension Family and Consumer Science Agent. Thanks for tuning in to our virtual learning channel, where we provide you with research-based information you know you can trust.
This lesson is Healthy at Home, Food Edition. I know many of us are eating most of our meals at home, and so I wanted to take this time to help go over 4 simple steps that will help keep us safe and healthy while we're eating at home. Our 4 simple steps to food safety we want to make sure we are following are number 1, clean, 2, separate, 3, cook, and 4, chill. The first step is clean, and it's exactly what it sounds like. We want to make sure we are washing our hands and cleaning those utensils and surfaces often, because illness-causing germs can survive in many of these places for a decent amount of time. And so by making sure we are washing our hands properly and cleaning those utensils, cutting boards, and surfaces, we're going to cut down on those germs. The top priority here is making sure you are washing your hands the right way. And so we see our nice poster from Wally the Wildcat helping us go through the 6 steps to washing your hands. So we want to make sure we're getting our hands nice and wet, applying soap, and making sure we're rubbing our hands together and hitting all areas of our hands and our fingernails for at least 20 seconds. And then we will rinse the soap off. And then make sure when you're drying your hands, you're either using a clean towel or a paper towel. You don't want to recontaminate your hands by using a dirty towel or an old paper towel either. And so if you have to ask yourself, when should I wash my hands? It's probably a good chance that you need to, but just to go over a few examples of when you should wash your hands, here's a list. Before, during, and after preparing food, after handling raw meat, poultry, seafood, or any of their juices or uncooked eggs, before eating, after using the restroom, after changing diapers or cleaning up a child who has used the restroom, after touching an animal, animal feed, or animal waste, after touching garbage, before and after caring for someone who is sick, before and after treating a wound or cut, after blowing your nose, coughing, or sneezing. And so not only is it important to make sure we wash our hands, we want to make sure we're washing our surfaces and utensils after each use. So it's very important that we wash our cutting boards, dishes, utensils, and countertops with hot, soapy water, especially after they've had any raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs on contact with them. We also want to make sure when we are washing our dishcloths, we are washing them often and using the hot cycle on our wash machine. We also want to wash our fruits and vegetables, but we do not want to wash meat, poultry, or eggs. So when you're making sure your produce is ready to use, you want to make sure you cut away any damaged or bruised areas, and then you want to rinse that piece of fruit or that vegetable under running water without soap, bleach, or any type of commercial produce washes, just running water. You want to make sure if you have a firm produce like a melon or even a potato that you're using a brush to scrub them. And then you want to dry your produce with a paper towel or a clean towel. Again, we do not recommend that you wash any meat, poultry, eggs, or even the bagged produce that's marked pre-washed. So number 2 is separate. I'm sure many of you have heard the term cross-contaminate, and that's what we want to make sure we avoid. We do not want to cross-contaminate. So we want to make sure we're using separate cutting boards and plates for produce, meat, poultry, seafoods, and eggs. Use one cutting board for fresh produce or other foods that won't be cooked before they're eaten, and another for raw meat, poultry, or seafood. You want to make sure you are replacing your cutting boards when they become worn, because those little cuts, the germs can get in those and hide, and we're not able to wash them properly once they're able to get inside your cutting board. We want to make sure we're using separate plates and utensils for cooked and raw foods. And we want to wash thoroughly all of our plates, utensils, and cutting boards that have touched raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs before we use them again. Make sure you are using hot, soapy water. We also want to make sure we're keeping certain types of food separate. So when you're in the grocery store, you want to make sure you're keeping any raw meat, poultry, seafood, or eggs away from other foods, and place packages of raw meat, poultry, seafood in plastic bags when they are available. When you check out, you also want to make sure they are bagged separately from your other foods. Once you get home, you want to make sure you're placing that raw meat, poultry, and seafood in containers or sealed plastic bags. That way, they won't have any juices possibly leak and contaminate other foods in your fridge. And if you're not going to use them right away, this also makes it easier for them to be frozen once they're in those bags or containers. So in your fridge, you want to make sure you're keeping your eggs in their original carton and store them in the main compartment. You do not want to store them in the door, because eggs stored in the door, you have more temperature fluctuation, and you want to make sure they're not getting in any type of danger zone. Speaking of the danger zone, our step 3 is cook. We want to make sure we are cooking all of our food to the right temperature. Food is safely cooked when the internal temperature is high enough to kill the germs that might make you sick. So we want to make sure we're keeping all of our hot food at or above 140 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're not serving the food right away, you want to make sure you're keeping it out of that danger zone by making sure it's in some type of chafing dish or a warming tray or a slow cooker. You do not want it to go below that 140 degrees. When you're microwaving your food, you want to make sure you're microwaving it to a point of 165 degrees Fahrenheit or higher. So you'll want to read the package directions for cooking and make sure you are following them for whatever food you are currently cooking in the microwave. If the food label says let it stand for X number of minutes after cooking, follow those directions. That's saying that it's letting the microwave food set for a few minutes, which enables the cooler areas to absorb the heat from the outside areas of the food. Stir food in the middle of heating. Follow those package directions for commercially prepared frozen foods. Some are designed to be stirred while heating, while others aren't. But again, that's why it's important to make sure you're reading and following those directions. Our final step is chill. We want to make sure we are refrigerating and freezing food properly. You want to make sure you are refrigerating your perishable foods within 2 hours. That 2 hours is when we have to start worrying about the danger zone. And so bacteria that causes food poisoning multiplies quickest between 40 degrees Fahrenheit and 140 degrees Fahrenheit. That is the danger zone I keep referring to. Your refrigerator should be set to 40 degrees Fahrenheit or lower, and your freezer should be set to 0 degrees Fahrenheit or below. Use an appliance thermometer to be sure. It's always good to check your fridge, even if it has a digital dial that tells you what the temperature is. Never leave perishable food out of refrigeration for more than 2 hours. If the food is exposed to temperature above 90 degrees Fahrenheit, like in a hot cart or summer picnic, refrigerate it within 1 hour. Leftovers should be placed in shallow containers and refrigerated promptly to allow cooling. Never thaw or marinate foods on the counter. The safest way to thaw or marinate meat, poultry, or seafood is in the refrigerator. Freezing does not destroy harmful germs, but it does keep food safe until you can cook it. Be sure you throw out any food before harmful bacteria can grow on it. If you have any questions about what the shelf life of any type of food is, feel free to reach out to me. I've got handy dandy publications that goes through all this, and I'm happy to help you determine what is safe to eat and what is not. And so with that said, again, if you have any questions, do not hesitate to get on the phone and give me a call. You can call our office number. I have my cell phone number listed on there and also my email. You have questions and we have answers. We are here to help you.